Admiral Helena Rodriguez stood at the viewport of the CSS Valencia, watching the golden rings of Saturn shimmer in the distance. The colony ships below were halfway through their evacuation procedure when the long-range sensors picked up the first anomalies. What started as subtle gravitational distortions quickly evolved into something that defied conventional physics. "Multiple contacts emerging, sir," Lieutenant Chen reported, her voice steady despite the tension. "Energy signatures unlike anything in our database." The anomalies twisted space itself, birthing vessels that seemed to mock human understanding of shipbuilding. Their hulls rippled like liquid metal, yet sensors indicated they were harder than any known material. There were 7 of them, each easily dwarfing the Valencia. "Status of the colony ships," Rodriguez demanded, already moving to the tactical station. "Titan base reports 60% of civilians loaded. They need another 40 minutes, Admiral." Time they didn't have. Rodriguez had spent her entire career preparing humanity for this moment. First contact with an alien civilization. But not like this. Not with unknown vessels appearing without warning near humanity's largest off-world colony. "Open all frequencies," she ordered. "Let's try tow." The alien vessels answered before she could finish. Not with communication, but with weapons fire that bent space itself. The first shot passed through the Valencia's shields as if they didn't exist, shearing off a section of the port hull. "All ships, defensive formation Delta." Rodriguez's training took over. "Priority is protecting those civilian ships. Launch all fighters and begin emergency protocols." The battle that followed would later be known as the Saturn engagement, humanity's first interstellar conflict. The Valencia and her escort fleet of 4 destroyers were hopelessly outgunned, but they had something the aliens hadn't counted on: human adaptability. "Ma'am, their weapons, they're creating localized space-time distortions," Dr. Sarah West, the ship's chief physicist, reported from her station. "But there's a pattern. Each distortion leaves a quantum wake we might be able to track." Rodriguez smiled grimly. "Can we use that?" "Maybe. Their technology is advanced, but they're following strict patterns. If we can predict where the distortions will form, do it." "Lieutenant Chen, coordinate with physics. I want firing solutions based on their calculations." The next 20 minutes became a desperate dance. The alien vessels were more powerful, but they were predictable. Every shot followed the same precise patterns that human computers could analyze and predict. The Valencia's guns began scoring hits, not through brute force, but through careful timing and positioning. "Admiral," Chen's voice carried an edge of excitement. "Titan base reports 85% evacuation complete, but we're detecting more anomalies forming." Rodriguez watched as 3 more alien vessels emerged from the spatial distortions. The odds, already bad, had just gotten worse. But something about their formation caught her eye. "Dr. West, look at their positioning. Why maintain such a rigid formation when it makes them vulnerable to concentrated fire?" The physicist studied the tactical display, her eyes widening. "They're not just in formation. They're maintaining exact distances. The space-time distortions, they must require precise geometric alignment to function properly." It was the break they needed. Rodriguez ordered the fleet to target the space between the alien vessels, disrupting their carefully maintained formation. The effect was immediate. Their weapons' effectiveness dropped sharply, the space-time distortions becoming unstable and sometimes backfiring. "Titan base reports all civilians secured, Admiral. Colony ships are making emergency burns for the Jupiter jump point." Rodriguez allowed herself a moment of satisfaction before issuing her next orders. "All ships, begin tactical withdrawal. Keep firing on their formation points. Don't let them re-establish geometric stability." The alien vessels, their tactical advantage disrupted, did not pursue as the human fleet covered the civilians' retreat. As the Valencia prepared to follow the last colony ship through the jump point, Rodriguez received one final report. "Admiral, we're detecting massive energy builds in the alien fleet." They're retreating. The victory, while defensive, would change everything. Humanity had faced its first interstellar threat and survived not through superior technology, but through observation, adaptation, and the willingness to think beyond established patterns. In her quarters later, Rodriguez reviewed the battle data. The aliens' technology was centuries ahead of Earth's, but they had revealed a crucial weakness. They were bound by their own advancement. Their weapons and tactics were refined to perfection, but that perfection had become a limitation. Humanity, with its primitive technology and flexible thinking, had found a way to turn that against them. She began composing her report to Earth Command. The words would reshape humanity's future. We are not alone, and we are not ready. But we have proven we can adapt. Recommend immediate implementation of the Dreadnought Initiative. We will need ships that can match their capabilities, not by copying their technology, but by developing our own solutions based on what we now know about their weaknesses. The Saturn engagement had lasted less than an hour, but its implications would echo through human space for generations to come. Humanity had taken its first steps into a larger universe, and they had done so not with fear, but with determination and ingenuity. As the Valentia made its final jump to safety, Rodriguez knew that this was just the beginning. The aliens would return, probably with counters to the tactics that had worked today. But humanity would be ready. They would adapt, improvise, and overcome, just as they always had. The massive underground facility beneath the Olympus Mons colony on Mars hummed with activity. Dr. James Chen, lead architect of the Dreadnought Initiative, stood before a holographic display showing the skeleton of humanity's answer to the alien threat. Behind him, representatives from Earth's Unified Defense Council watched in silence. Traditional shipbuilding doctrine said this was impossible. Chen gestured to the massive framework floating in the display. But then again, traditional doctrine never accounted for what we learned at Saturn. The ship in the display was unlike anything humanity had built before. Where conventional vessels were sleek and streamlined, this one embraced geometric chaos. Its hull was comprised of overlapping plates arranged in seemingly random patterns, each surface covered in what looked like crystalline growths. The aliens at Saturn relied on perfect geometric formations to generate their space-time distortions. Chen continued. We're taking the opposite approach. The Dreadnought's hull is designed to create controlled chaos in the surrounding space-time fabric. Admiral Rodriguez, now bearing the scars from the Saturn engagement, stepped forward. You're saying we're building ships that deliberately destabilize space around them. That sounds insane. Chen smiled. That's exactly what makes it brilliant. The aliens' technology requires stable space-time conditions to function. We're building ships that deny them that stability. The hologram shifted, showing the internal systems. Massive rings of exotic matter rotated in opposing directions, creating what Chen's team had dubbed quantum turbulence. The theory was revolutionary. Instead of trying to match the aliens' ability to manipulate space-time, they would make it impossible for anyone to do so reliably within their operational sphere. The first prototype, CNS Prometheus, is ready for testing, Chen announced. We've incorporated everything we learned from Saturn. The crystalline formations on the hull aren't just armor, they're quantum resonators. They detect and disrupt any attempted space-time manipulation within their range. One of the council members raised a hand. And our own systems. Won't this quantum turbulence affect our conventional weapons and drives? That's where human ingenuity comes in. Chen switched the display to show the ship's weapon systems. We're not using conventional drives or weapons. The Prometheus uses what we call chaos drives, propulsion systems that actually harness the turbulence we create. Our weapons are designed to function in unstable space-time conditions. The more chaotic the environment becomes, the more effective we are. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Humanity wasn't just building warships, they were rewriting the rules of space combat. The aliens had shown them that perfect order was a weapon. Humanity's response was to weaponize chaos itself. 3 weeks later, the Prometheus conducted its first full power test in the asteroid belt. Chen and Rodriguez watched from the control center as the massive vessel powered up its chaos drives. The space around the ship seemed to shimmer and twist, like heat waves rising from hot asphalt. "Energy readings are off the charts," one of the technicians reported. "The quantum turbulence field is stable. Well, as stable as deliberate instability can be." Rodriguez watched the sensor readings with growing satisfaction. "Launch the test drones. Let's see how their space-time weapons handle our chaos field." The drones, programmed to replicate the alien weapons observed at Saturn, opened fire. Their space-time distortion beams, which had cut through conventional shields like paper, scattered harmlessly across the Prometheus's quantum turbulent envelope. Now for the real test. Chen keyed in the command sequence. "Weapons free." The Prometheus' response was spectacular. Beams of coherent energy, somehow maintaining stability within the chaos field, lashed out at the drones. Each shot curved impossibly through the disturbed space-time, hitting targets that should have been impossible to track, let alone hit. "How?" Rodriguez breathed. "Those shots, they're curving through the turbulence." Chen's eyes gleamed with pride. "We're not fighting the chaos. We're part of it." The targeting computers don't try to calculate precise trajectories. They predict probable paths through the turbulence, more like surfing the waves of disturbed space-time. The test concluded with every drone destroyed. The Prometheus had performed beyond their highest expectations. But Chen knew this was just the beginning. The real challenge would come when they faced the actual alien vessels. "Begin full production," Rodriguez ordered. "I want a fleet of these ready as soon as possible. The aliens will return, and this time, we'll show them that humanity's primitive approach to physics has teeth." As the Prometheus powered down its systems, Chen made a final entry in his project log. "The Dreadnought Initiative has succeeded beyond our wildest dreams. We took our greatest weakness, our inability to match alien technology, and turned it into our greatest strength. They master space-time. We master chaos. They rely on perfect order. We thrive in disorder. Let them come with their geometric perfection. We'll show them that sometimes the best way to win isn't to play by the rules. It's to change the game entirely." The age of the dreadnoughts had begun, and with it, humanity's real entrance onto the galactic stage. The question wasn't whether the aliens would return, but what they would make of humanity's unconventional response to their technological superiority. The Grand Chamber of the Galactic Council was a marvel of alien architecture, its crystalline walls stretching up into impossible geometries. Admiral Rodriguez and Dr. Chen stood before the assembled representatives of 17 spacefaring civilizations, feeling the weight of billions of eyes upon them. Above them, the Vextari delegate, an entity of pure energy contained within an ornate containment field, spoke first. "The humans claim their vessels can disrupt the geometric harmony. This is unprecedented. The harmony has been the foundation of advanced spacefaring technology for 50,000 years. Perhaps that's precisely the problem." Rodriguez stepped forward, her voice carrying across the chamber. "The harmony became a limitation, not an advantage. Every species here built their technology on the same principles, following the same rules." The chamber erupted in murmurs. A Xinthar representative, their crystalline form refracting light in complex patterns, rose from their position. "And you propose that your chaos technology is superior. Your species has barely mastered interplanetary travel." Chen activated a holographic display, showing footage from the Prometheus's test runs. "We don't claim superiority. We offer an alternative. The raiders who attacked our Saturn colony relied on perfect geometric formations. Our dreadnoughts make such formations impossible." The raiders. A new voice cut through the chamber. A figure emerged from the shadows, its form shifting between states of matter. The assembled delegates fell silent. Even the Vextari's energy form dimmed slightly. "Elder Nexus," the council chair acknowledged. "The formless ones honor us with their presence. The being that called itself Elder Nexus moved closer to the human delegation. We have watched your species since you first split the atom. Your development has been unique. You advance not through careful iteration, but through desperate innovation. Rodriguez met the Elder's shifting gaze. We had to. Earth's resources were limited. Our system is crowded. Every advancement came from necessity. Yes, Elder Nexus's form rippled. And now you bring this same desperate innovation to the greatest threat our galaxy has faced in millennia. The Raiders are not simply pirates or outcasts. They are the harbingers. The chamber fell completely silent. Chen felt a chill run down his spine as Elder Nexus continued. The geometric harmony was not discovered by our civilizations. It was given to us, left behind by those who came before. We assumed mastery of these principles meant advancement. The humans, in their ignorance, may have stumbled upon a truth we have forgotten. The Zinthar representative's crystalline form vibrated with agitation. You cannot be suggesting we abandon the harmony. Our entire civilization is built upon its principles. Not abandon, Rodriguez interjected. Adapt. The Raiders attacked us because we were seen as primitive, but our primitive response drove them back. What if that's not coincidence? What if they specifically target civilizations that follow the harmony? Elder Nexus's form pulsed with approval. The human's theory has merit. The Raiders have systematically attacked worlds that achieve certain levels of geometric harmony manipulation. Their tactics are perfect, their strategies flawless, when facing technology based on the same principles. Chen stepped forward. We propose an alliance, not to replace your technology, but to complement it. Our dreadnoughts can create zones where the harmony cannot be perfectly maintained. Within these zones, conventional tactics become unpredictable. And you would share this technology. The Vextari delegate's energy form flickered skeptically. With conditions, Rodriguez answered. We want full partnership, not subordination. And we want the truth about the Raiders. If Elder Nexus is right, and they're harbingers, what are they harbining? The council chair raised a tendril of pure thought. This request must be put to a vote. But first, Elder Nexus, you must tell them. They have earned that much. The ancient being's form settled into something almost solid. The Raiders serve the geometers, the ones who left us the harmony. They test each civilization that reaches a certain level of harmony manipulation. Those who pass their tests disappear. Those who fail are destroyed. But why? Chen asked. What's the purpose? We believe they seek inheritors, Elder Nexus replied. But inheritors of what? We do not know. No civilization that has passed their tests has ever been seen again. And now, for the first time in 50,000 years, a species has driven them back not by mastering the harmony, but by disrupting it entirely. The implications hung in the air like a physical weight. Humanity hadn't just developed a new weapon. They'd changed the rules of a game that had been running for millennia. The vote is called, the council chair announced. We must decide. Do we embrace this chaos, or do we maintain our dedication to the harmony? As the delegates began their deliberations, Rodriguez turned to Chen. Did we just stumble into something much bigger than a few raiders? Chen watched Elder Nexus drift back into the shadows. I think we just discovered why humanity's primitive approach to physics makes us so dangerous. We're not playing their game at all. The fate of not just humanity, but perhaps the entire galaxy, now rested on whether the Council could overcome 50,000 years of tradition and embrace a new way of thinking. The Raiders would return, and when they did, they would face either a unified response combining harmony and chaos, or a divided galaxy clinging to the very principles that made them vulnerable. The combined fleet assembled at the edge of the Arcturus system was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Admiral Rodriguez stood on the bridge of the Prometheus, watching as ships from a dozen different species took their positions. The crystalline vessels of the Zinthar glittered alongside the energy sphere ships of the Vextari, while the phase-shifting craft of the formless ones slipped in and out of conventional space. And at the heart of the formation, 5 human dreadnoughts waited, their chaos-inducing fields already creating visible distortions in space. "Fleet status," Rodriguez asked, her eyes fixed on the tactical display. "All ships report ready," Lieutenant Sarah Chen, newly promoted after the Saturn engagement, reported. "The Zinthar are having some trouble maintaining position due to our chaos fields, but they're adapting." Dr. Chen, watching from his station, nodded approvingly. "They're learning. Instead of fighting the turbulence, they're using it to mask their energy signatures. Clever." The raiders have been spotted approaching a major Vexteri colony world. This time, they weren't facing an unprepared opponent. This time, the combined fleet was ready with a strategy that played to each species' strengths. "Signal from Elder Nexus," Lieutenant Chen announced. "Long-range sensors detect multiple geometer vessels emerging from hyperspace. Count is 27 ships, much larger than anything we've encountered before." Rodriguez straightened. "Send the alert. All ships, implement Operation Thunderstrike. Remember, this isn't about destroying them. We need answers." The plan was audacious. The Allied fleet would appear to be in disarray, affected by the dreadnought's chaos fields. The raiders, expecting easy prey, would move in to establish their perfect geometric formations. That's when the trap would spring. "Enemy fleet is advancing," Lieutenant Chen reported. They're not using their usual formation." Rodriguez leaned forward. "They're adapting." "Good. That means we have their attention." The raider vessels were things of terrible beauty, their hulls shifting between states of matter as they approach. But there was something different about their movement this time. A hesitation, as if they were trying to solve a puzzle. "They're scanning our chaos fields," Dr. Chen observed, "trying to understand the pattern. But there is no pattern. That's the whole point." Rodriguez allowed herself a small smile. "Signal the formless ones. Begin Phase 1. The phase-shifting vessels of Elder Nexus people suddenly materialized throughout the raider formation. Not to attack, but to create their own spatial distortions. The raiders, expecting to face conventional weapons, found themselves caught between 2 different types of space-time manipulation. "Phase 2, Rodriguez ordered. "All dreadnoughts, full power to chaos drives." The human vessels increased their quantum turbulence output to maximum. Space itself seemed to boil between the 2 fleets. The raiders' perfect formations began to waver as their geometric calculations failed. "Now the Zinthar," Rodriguez commanded. "Show them what you've learned." The crystalline ships of their allies had been studying the chaos fields for weeks. Now they'd put that knowledge to use, their vessels riding the waves of disturbed space-time like surfers on a cosmic ocean. They weaved through the raiders' formation, their crystalline structures refracting and amplifying the chaos fields. Multiple raiders losing containment, Lieutenant Chen reported with barely contained excitement. Their matter state shifts are becoming erratic. But the raiders weren't finished. Their ships began to pulse with energy, attempting to force order back into the local space-time. That's when Rodriguez gave the order she'd been waiting to deliver. "All ships, execute Phase 3. Elder Nexus, you have the lead." The Formless One's vessels suddenly aligned with the human dreadnoughts. The combination of their phase-shifting technology and the chaos fields created something entirely new, controlled points of perfect order within the chaos, but only for microseconds at a time. "Target those nodes," Rodriguez ordered. "All ships, concentrated fire on the emergence points." The combined fleet struck as one. Zinthar crystal beams, Vexteri energy pulses, and human chaos torpedoes all converged on the points where order momentarily emerged from chaos. The raiders, their ships designed to operate in perfect geometric harmony, found themselves trapped by their own fundamental assumptions about how space-time should behave. "We're getting a signal." Lieutenant Chen's voice rose, one of the raider vessels. "They're trying to communicate." Before Rodriguez could respond, Elder Nexus's voice filled the command channel. After 50,000 years, they finally face something they don't understand. Now perhaps we get answers. The largest of the raider vessels, its hull still shifting erratically, transmitted a series of complex mathematical equations. Dr. Chen's eyes widened as he decoded them. It's not just communication, he breathed. It's acknowledgement. They're recognizing us as something new, something outside their parameters. Rodriguez watched as the raider fleet began to withdraw, but not in defeat. Their retreat was measured, almost ceremonial. One ship remained behind, maintaining its position at the edge of the chaos field. They're leaving us a contact, Elder Nexus explained. For the first time in recorded history, the geometers want to talk, not test. As the combined fleet regrouped, Rodriguez couldn't help but feel they'd achieved something far more significant than a military victory. Humanity's primitive approach to physics hadn't just proved effective. It had forced an ancient power to reevaluate its fundamental assumptions. "Send word to the Council," she ordered. "Tell them Operation Thunderstrike was a success, but not in the way we expected. We didn't just beat them, we made them curious." The implications of this development would reshape galactic society. The age of rigid adherence to the geometric harmony was ending. A new era of collaboration between order and chaos was about to begin. The Grand Chamber of the Galactic Council had changed in the 3 months since Operation Thunderstrike. Where once the crystalline walls maintained perfect geometric patterns, now they pulsed with a mix of order and chaos, a physical representation of the philosophical shift sweeping through galactic civilization. Admiral Rodriguez and Dr. Chen stood once again before the assembled representatives, but this time they weren't alone. Beside them stood a geometer, its form a constant flow between solid, liquid, and energy states. The being had introduced itself as the Observer, the first of its kind to directly address the younger races in 50 millennia. "We were wrong." The Observer's thoughts resonated through the chamber, translated simultaneously into all known languages. "For too long, we sought perfection in our inheritors. We tested civilizations based on their ability to master the geometric harmony, never considering that true advancement might come from its disruption." Elder Nexus's form shifted in what Rodriguez had learned to recognize as amusement. 50,000 years of testing, and humanity shows us in less than a year that we were asking the wrong questions. The Observer's form rippled in agreement. The harmony was a gift from our own predecessors. We preserved it, refined it, taught it, but we never questioned it. We became trapped by our own perfection. Dr. Chen stepped forward. "Your raiders, your tests. They weren't just about finding worthy inheritors, were they? You were looking for someone who could break the cycle." "Yes," the Observer acknowledged. "Our civilization reached its peak ages ago. We mastered the harmony to its fullest extent. And then, we stopped. Perfect order, perfect prediction, perfect stagnation. We needed something new, something that could disrupt the patterns we had become trapped in." Rodriguez watched as images formed above the council floor, representations of human history, from the first cave paintings to the latest dreadnought designs. "You found that disruption in us, in our chaos. Your species fascinated us from the beginning," the Observer continued. "You advanced not through careful iteration, but through desperate leaps. Your technologies were inefficient, imperfect, and because of that, infinitely adaptable. When we attacked your colony at Saturn, you didn't try to match our perfection. You found a way to make perfection itself a weakness." The Zinthar representative's crystalline form chimed with harmonics of agreement. "The humans' chaos fields have already led to breakthroughs in our own technologies. By introducing controlled imperfection into our crystal matrices, we've discovered entirely new properties. And our energy containment systems," the Vextari delegate added, their form pulsing brightly. "The principles of quantum turbulence have allowed us to achieve states we never thought possible." The Observer's form settled into something almost solid, a sign of emphasis Rodriguez had learned. "This is why we have come forward at last. Not to pass judgment, but to propose a partnership. The younger races have proven they can do more than simply follow in our footsteps. They can forge new paths entirely. A partnership of equals, Elder Nexus mused, order and chaos, working in concert rather than opposition. The implications are significant. Dr. Chen's eyes lit up with the possibilities. The dreadnoughts were just the beginning. If we combine your understanding of the harmony with our chaos theory principles, we could reshape reality itself, the observer completed the thought. But responsibly, with both the precision of order and the adaptability of chaos. The council chair called for attention. A formal proposal has been made. The geometers offer to share their full knowledge of the harmony in exchange for humanity's chaos theory principles and the combined development of new technologies that bridge both approaches. Rodriguez felt the weight of the moment. Humanity had come to the stars hoping to prove themselves worthy of joining the galactic community. Instead, they had fundamentally changed how that community viewed the nature of progress itself. There will be challenges, she said, addressing the entire chamber. Learning to work together, to combine such different approaches to physics and technology. But that's what humanity does best: face challenges, adapt, and find ways to make the impossible possible. The vote that followed was unanimous, a first in council history. As the chamber erupted in displays of approval unique to each species, the observer turned to Rodriguez and Chen. There is an ancient human saying that we discovered in our studies: order from chaos. We never understood its true meaning until now. Your species doesn't just survive chaos. You harness it, shape it, use it to break through barriers that perfect order could never overcome. As the celebrations continued around them, Rodriguez looked out at the assembled representatives of galactic civilization. Humans, aliens, and even the once mysterious geometers, all preparing to work together to explore possibilities that none of them could have imagined alone. So, she said to no one in particular, what do we build first? The answer came not in words, but in the excited exchange of ideas that followed. Crystalline mathematics merging with chaos theory, energy beings proposing experiments that defied conventional physics, and human engineers suggesting improvements to technologies that had remained unchanged for millennia. The age of rigid perfection was over. The era of creative chaos had begun. And somewhere out in the vast expanse of space, the next impossible challenge waited to be overcome by this new partnership between order and entropy, precision and adaptation, ancient wisdom and revolutionary thinking. Humanity had found its place among the stars not by following the established path, but by showing there were infinite paths yet to be discovered. The future was no longer about achieving perfection. It was about embracing the perfect imperfection that made progress possible.